The frequent speculation here at That Park Place is whether or not Marvel is going to come to the Florida parks. Well, another Disney theme park just got their hands on Marvel right after Universal Studios backed away from it. Let the speculation commence here on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell. I'm an investigative reporter and frequent theme park commentator here on That Park Place. And with me is the font of all theme park knowledge, Mr. Vash Sky. Vash, are you doing all right, man?
I am doing just fine. Yes, this is kind of an interesting little story here because I think Jonas, I think your instincts are correct. This is a much bigger story than just the incorporation of some characters during some spectacular.
Yes, I would agree. Now, there's been some reporting on Universal Studios Japan and saying that when the Amazing Spider-Man ride over at Universal Studios Japan closes down, we're just going to go to it doesn't matter any random article pointing out that this ride is closing. Universal Studios Japan closing its long-running Spider-Man ride in early 2024. There was some great merchandise about the closure of this ride. They celebrated it publicly, which is not something that Disney tends to do when they shut down a ride. It's more like, okay, we're ashamed of this, we're getting rid of it. Whereas with Amazing Spider-Man, Japanese parks, they tend to keep these things well maintained for as long as possible and try to celebrate them. 20-year run, obviously that means that this came out in around 2003, 2024, something like that. And the speculation that is being replaced with, Vash, do you want to tell everybody? You want to tell everybody what the speculation is?
Well, the speculation is that it's going to be replaced with Pokemon, which is just huge.
Now, at this point, is that I said the word speculation. It's actually being replaced with Pokemon in Japan, isn't it?
We're about 99% sure. I mean, this has been in the works for quite some time, at least a Pokemon. What is an inclusion into this park specifically, Universal Studios Japan? Where we are, like I said, 99% sure. You never know with Universal because, hey, they can say that a churro stand is popping up and it's actually Velocicoaster. You just never know until they officially say anything.
Is that what they did?
Yes, they said. Said, "What is this roller coaster here?" And they're like, "Well, it's a churro stand," which was pretty fun because on the opening of Velocicoaster, they actually hand out free churros as part of it, so that's pretty cool.
Right,
so
and let's just point out,
was a churro stand.
Yeah, let's just point out that Universal Studios Japan already has some Pokemon themed items in the park, which says that they're all playing nice together over there. It also happens to be, hey, look at that, it's a churro. I will say, for the people who say I never say anything negative about Universal Studios, you guys aren't paying attention, because I did review a churro from Universal Studios Florida, specifically Islands of Adventure. The churro stand at the end of the Marvel Superhero Island space was the worst churro that I have ever had in my entire life. Now, that being said,
you got to go down to the West Coast. You got to go down to Disneyland and get yourself a fresh churro. That will change your life.
It will change. For example, one night I said it to me girl, and now me girl's me wife. Jeez. All right. Let's focus here on the story at hand. Here's what's going on, though. Over at Universal Studios Japan, we know that according to the agreements that were signed between Marvel back in the day, MCA, and Universal. Sorry, I should say MCA and Marvel, or there happened to be another company called MCA in there.
Right.
Anyways, the agreement stated that wherever there was a Marvel incorporated land run by Universal Studios, that Marvel could not do an attraction in that space. Well, at some point, Disney bought Marvel. And so it essentially meant that Disney was landlocked in certain regions. They could only put Marvel characters that were not already in other existing lands that were owned by Universal. Theme parks that were owned by Universal. And so that left, Disney's California adventure over there. And I suppose they could put some stuff in Disneyland. But they were essentially locked out of Shanghai, and they were locked out of Japan. So here in Walt Disney World News today, Vash, go ahead before we read that.
Well, also, it's interesting because they were very close to locking out Disney out of California as well, because there was a Marvel presence at Universal, but they had let those rights, I think the company before Comcast, they let those rights lapse, which allowed Disney to built Avengers Campus and Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout and all these other cool Marvel things that we're getting over in Disneyland, or Disney California Adventure, I should say. But that wasn't always necessarily the case that could happen until those rights lapse. So the same thing playing out here, at least in Tokyo. Well, it looks like Disney's already capitalizing on this.
Yep. Breaking new nighttime spectacular coming to Tokyo Disneyland, featuring the first appearance of Marvel characters. These brand new characters. It's their first appearance. It's their first appearance in Tokyo Disneyland, which is, of course, if you guys aren't keeping track, it's very close to Tokyo, which would be a place that used to have Marvel rides at another park. A new nighttime spectacular featuring Marvel characters and more is coming to Tokyo Disneyland later this year. This was from January 30th. We first learned a new projection show was in the works when music director Ron Culver added it to his website. We can no longer find it on their website, by the way, even though WDWNT did put a link to it there. The new Castle projection show will begin performances September 20th of this year. It will utilize projection mapping, lighting, pyrotechnics, and special effects to bring many of our beloved characters to life as they soar through the night sky in pursuit of their dreams. What about my dreams, Disney? What about my dreams? Marvel characters will make their first ever appearance at Tokyo Disney Resort as part of the program. Blah 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 blah. The show will be about 20 minutes, and there you go. This is the same guy, Ron Culver, who did Disneyland Forever and World of Color 1, and
yes.
He also did a Hong Kong Disneyland 20th anniversary parade, which I haven't seen that one. Haven't been over to Hong Kong to see that ride.
And probably will never. But yeah. But Ron Culver, okay. Hey, Disneyland Forever, pretty good. World of Color 1, not so much. And the way in which his shows usually go, or at least the ones he contributes to, they're basically clip shows. World of Color 1 has a lot of integration with Marvel. We can expect that same thing here with this celebration. But take note of the date, though, September 20th, 2024. We know that Spider-Man in Universal Studios Japan will be leaving early 2024. So the dates kind of coincide with this whole rights issue, I would think.
Yes.
And maybe they jumped the gun a little bit. Maybe that's why they pulled it off. Not sure. But these things do seem to be aligning.
Right. And just for explanation to anyone who has not gone through the pleasure of reading those agreements, they were filed with the SEC back in the day. So they are out there if anyone wants to see them. And we've talked about them on this channel. There's a video in which we talk about DC and whether or not DC Comics could have a presence at the parks if Comcast decides to make a deal with Warner Brothers for that, because James Gunn did speculate that he would like to have DC characters at a theme park. I think we're years away from any of that ever happening. Right. On the scale that we'd like. Obviously, Six Flags has an agreement. Whatever. We contemplate that in full in a video. We'll see if I can remember to put a link to that here in the description. Now, as part of that agreement between Marvel and Universal, whoever has the rights to whoever has built a land here had a certain period in which they had to go ahead and build that attraction, whatever it was. And within that time, it was officially claimed by Universal in perpetuity for as long as they maintained a certain level of maintenance payments. And those maintenance payments were both, one, royalties to the company, in this case, it's Disney, through Marvel, or and maintenance of the actual physical plant there. So more than $1 million in upkeep was. I seem to remember. I read a version a long time ago that actually had numbers in it, and I can't find it now, so I don't know. But that's pretty easy to do when you're running a theme park that probably makes billions of dollars. To say, yeah, we'll do more than $1 million of maintenance in this area over the course of 1 year. So if they stop even for one day, and I did look at the language there for COVID as well, having this theme park, having this Marvel themed area in use for even one day, I do believe that disqualifies them from using it going forward. So the pandemic did not stop that, because force majeure, otherwise known as act of God, did not stop them from keeping that Marvel license. So if they shut down this Spider-Man ride and they don't have it open for an extended period of time, I think this is done. But that also being said, I think that there's probably some understanding between Universal Studios in Japan and Disney. Maybe they just went ahead and told them, yeah, we're not intending to do anything more with the Marvel license here at Universal Studios Japan.
Yeah, and it's significant as well. I mean, Universal has been. I mean, they've been. Oh, I remember Disney was using what is it, the Marvel iconography to what is it advertise for, I believe, the new Thor movie that was coming out at the time. And so they had like this monorail wrap that went around Walt Disney World property, and Universal, got on them for that, saying, hey, you can't use it in any theme park means whatsoever, including your transportation service that you have right there. So they've been very, very big on engaging with those rights and so forth, and restricting the usage of them wherever they can. Interesting too, Disney has been seen in Universal quite some number of times, looking at the quality and the state of their Marvel land, just to ensure that they are setting aside maintenance and so forth, and keeping that area.
And I would say that Marvel land, for those reasons, is probably better maintained than most of Disney parks. And if you need to understand what the problem is with the way Disney parks are maintained right now, well, there are probably some videos on this channel. And if you want to, there's a video about Bob Iger bragging about the state of the parks right now, and the rides that even came out within the last year. If Marvel was pulling if Universal was pulling what Disney does with the quality of their current maintenance, then I'm pretty sure Disney would go after them for pulling that Marvel license, because they have more interest in it, even though they won't make as much money with it, because it's a different version of Marvel. It's classic Marvel. It's superheroic Marvel, not a bunch of people that happen to be looking like they're wearing cosplay that day. Before we wrap up here, the thing that I want to say is I don't think that Universal Studios is letting go of Marvel at Marvel Superhero Island anytime soon. There at Universal Studios Florida, at Islands of Adventure to be more specific.
Right.
But it is interesting that they're retreating in other spaces in order to incorporate bigger IPs, it seems like.
Yeah, I think some of that too has to do with the fact that you really can't do anything with these lands without further approval. So it's like, okay, we're kind of at this stalemate, especially a place like Universal Studios Japan, where land is really, really tight. It's like, let's go ahead and forego this in order to do something really big and bold with another IP which we can kind of work with the owners of, right? As opposed to like Marvel, for example, where you'd have to get approvals to do anything, and obviously you're not going to get them. That's kind of what makes the situation in Universal Studios Islands of Adventure very unique, because it's like, yes, we can maintain what we have, but we can't expand, we can't change it. It's kind of locked. And to your point, Jonas, it's locked to that period of time where comics were fun.
That's a very good point. And it does help that they have the Incredible Hulk, which is a fantastic e-ticket roller coaster.
Absolutely.
And makes my head spin every time I get on it. It's a really, really a great roller coaster. And of course, Doom's Fearfall and the Storm Force Accelerator are there, but the line to meet Spider-Man is the second longest line in the land, right behind Incredible Hulk. So.
It is the #1 merchandise driver for Marvel, has been for decades now. And interestingly enough, The Wish has this little Marvel show, right, with Ant-Man. And, well, they had to throw Spider-Man into that, too, just to give it a little bit more cachet. It's really funny how they throw him around there.
All right. Well, that seems like as good a place as any to stop this video, contemplating on whether or not Universal will ever let go of the Marvel rights there in the bottom left-hand corner of their park in Orlando, Florida there. Like this video if you like this video. Share it out if you know somebody who is interested in Marvel at the theme parks and wants a better understanding of what is going on with that property. And, of course, consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.